1. All right, everybody, welcome back to our second installment of the college basketball segment of The Call. This is, as always, your pride and joy, Andrew Wade here, alongside with our resident Clemson fan in almost every sport, Bobby Mahurin.
In every sport.
In every, how dare I say
including
almost.
college basketball. Let me just say something about Clemson basketball. They're 3-0. They're 3-0. Have they played anybody? No.
No.
But they are undefeated.
That might be the last time you see them undefeated, folks.
Hey, they
take
play
it in.
Alabama December 12th. Clemson and Alabama play basketball on December 12th. I'm just saying, I'm gonna watch that game from start to finish.
From tip-off to tip-in.
It'll just be wonderful to see what happens when Clemson beats Alabama in that game.
Is that your early pick? Do we want to make a pick? Is that your early pick?
That's my early pick.
When Bama beats Clemson, I'm going to make you embarrass yourself on this podcast next week.
Hey, you know what? If they do it, I will own up to it.
Thank you.
You know what?
I got a lot of owning up to do this week.
I'm riding the wave. I'm riding the wave right now. So let's get into it. I just want to get Andrew Wade on the air officially apologizing to the Zags of Gonzaga and to their conference, the West Coast Conference. Let me just say, San Francisco, put some respect on their name. They beat up on Virginia,
which I'm happy about.
So go ahead. Let's share it with the world.
All right. I have to admit, and this is hard for me to do because you know how much I hate Gonzaga. Gonzaga, I'm sorry. That is until you lose to Baylor in the next week. But I'm sorry.
On Saturday, by the way.
That's right, on Saturday. No, I'm sorry for tainting the name of the Zags of Gonzaga and their conference, in which has proven this past week to be a decent conference. So,
yeah. So the big knock on Gonzaga every year is that they don't play anybody. They've scheduled a pretty tough non-conference. All right. They played. Let's see. Let's just look at their schedule real quick. So they played West Virginia last night, which, by the way, I also want to point out that I called West Virginia keeping it close against Gonzaga in our first podcast. West Virginia is the sneaky team. They're not as watching them this year. They don't press as much as they have in recent years,
right.
But they're still a really good team. And let's see, I've got our Final Four Big 12 winners. Okay, so nobody has them winning the Big 12, but I wouldn't be shocked if they're in the title game of the Big 12.
Yeah, I agree. West Virginia playing a really good game last night against Gonzaga, leading at halftime. I just think the one thing I will give Gonzaga credit for is they are a good adjusting team. So, based off the first half, they'll adjust in the second, and they did that. They shut down, especially in the final few minutes there. Play some hard-nosed defense. And forced a couple of key turnovers. So
and actually one of their big stars for Gonzaga went out in this game, and they had a bench guy step up, and he stepped up. I think the guy named Suggs got out, and then his replacement came in. But also another shout out, Drew Timme from Dallas, Texas, rival high school of mine. He had 3 points in the first half of this game, and he stepped up in the second half as well.
Come on.
I believe in Gonzaga. Now, it'll be really interesting to see how they do against Baylor. That's going to probably be one of the bigger games of the entire season.
Well, can we talk about too? And we can maybe go into Baylor's game a little bit here as we talk about Gonzaga. Baylor playing Illinois. Illinois ranked 5, ladies and gentlemen, and it wasn't even a game. 82-69. Baylor win.
I watched this game, and Baylor's defense is really good. To start the game, Baylor had 4 or 5 forced turnovers for easy layups against the Fighting Illini which
The Illini.
whatever. You know what? Just that what kind of a mascot is that? Anyway.
Somebody sat there and thought for forever, what's the mascot of this team going to be? And
Yeah.
if you look at Illinois, it almost looks like a Illini. The guy probably said, you know what, screw it, we can't come up with anything. Let's just go say it a different way, Illini. Oh,
Yeah.
there you go. You know.
Yeah. But I'm going to give credit to Baylor. Baylor's defense, like I said earlier, I mean, their defense creates their offense.
Well, and two, let's look at this. First half, 31-30. Great. It looked like it was going to be a great game. And again, you see Baylor in the past as well when they've had good basketball teams being a good adjuster in the second half. And Illinois did not do any adjusting. None adjust. I mean, 51-39 in the second half alone.
Yeah.
So and this is where it's going to be interesting because both Gonzaga and Baylor are both great second half adjusters. So I'm interested to see what the adjustments are, not just for themselves, but for the opponent. I think this is
better adjustments.
I think this is a close game, but let me tell you something. I'm hoping. I think the Gonzaga and Baylor game will be a big teller. Was Illinois that bad, or was Baylor that good? I don't know who's going to win this game. To be honest with you, we can talk about this later. But I was very impressed with Baylor in this game.
Same. I mean, I think Baylor and Gonzaga over these first few games have proven that they were deserving of those top two rankings.
Yeah.
But also, I just want to mention, so both of these games were part of the Jimmy V Classic. If you don't know the story about Jimmy V, go look up his speech at the ESPYs. It's very powerful.
Very powerful.
And the way ESPN has just kind of rallied around his foundation to find a cure to cancer. I am all for this. And it was an interesting segment they had in between the Gonzaga game and the Baylor game, and they had probably like a 20-minute segment on Jimmy V, his speech, and just the mission of this foundation. It's a great kind of fundraiser for them. It's Jimmy V week, all week long. So I just would implore you all to, if you find it in your heart, to donate to this great cause. So anything you want to say on that, Andrew?
No, I'm right there with you, man. I mean, you're talking about a great guy, a great cause, and what I love seeing is at the beginning of the basketball season, you see these different invitationals, and you see some of them like the Jimmy V, and I know there's one or two others I think that are dedicated to these people that are very influential, and sports aside for a second, what a way just to as human beings to support each other and love on each other is making it more about the atmosphere and the humanity of it rather than just a game. It's what the SEC says all the time. It just means more. Really, it does. So, and there's the eye roll I wanted with that.
You heard it here first, folks. It just means more.
It just means more. It really does.
If you don't listen to our college football podcast, you already know my opinion on that saying. It's just it just means more. It just means more.
It just means more.
That's it. Anyway, so another big – there was a big night of college basketball yesterday on Wednesday. We also had Texas and UNC, and normally these two teams play each other. I think there's – I want to say like their coaches used to coach for each other's teams back in the day or something like that. There's history between these two teams. North Carolina has usually handled Texas, but Texas coming back with a game winner to win the Maui Invitational, which is probably the biggest invitational of the preseason or mid-season tournaments.
Here's an interesting stat for you. I don't know if you saw this the other day, but they were actually showing, as I was watching this game, they actually showed the stat line for which years the Maui Invitational champion actually went on to win the national championship. And 3 out of the 5 teams they showed, which, I mean, it's only happened a handful of times, was North Carolina. And so they did it in like 08, 96 or 7, I believe. So it's happened a couple of times for North Carolina. I want to talk about this game real quick. The first half, and this is a class. Here's the bottom line for my assessment of this game. North Carolina is a young team, but don't count them out. And here's why. It's obvious. First half, 40-28, young team, a lot of freshmen. We talked about this last time. A lot of freshmen, but big recruiting class, having to get used to a college setting. Look at the second half adjustment as compared to the 40 points Texas scored in the first half. They only scored 29 points in the second,
Yep.
and North Carolina flipped. And so what I see here is a classic case of it's raw talent. They're freshmen, and guess what? Yes, this is a big game, but you'll bounce back from this because you got a great conference that you play in that has a lot of teams that'll be good competition. I think North Carolina learned a lot about themselves, and the fact that they lost on a game winner. I mean, there's only so much you can do about that. I mean, your defense can be better, but there's only so much you can do when a game-winning shot's thrown up and it goes in. So kudos to Texas. I don't think Texas is going to be that good of a team. I really think.
You don't think they're going to join that graphic of winning the national championship?
No, I think North Carolina actually will end up being the better team. I just think this was a case of freshman jitters, raw talent.
Yeah.
Needs to get a couple more games under the belt, and then we're going to see a good North Carolina team.
Awesome. Well, let's move back a day to Tuesday. So we had two big ones in the State Farm Champions Classic, which is this is another kind of big invitational tournament. Usually this is at a neutral site, but this year it was at least the Duke game was at home. But let's start with Kansas and Kentucky. Golly, this was a back and forth game, but I think it's the same thing. I mean, Kansas made some adjustments in the second half. Well, I mean, here's the other thing. Kentucky's leading scorer had 12 points. You're not going to win a game like that. You got to have somebody step out and get, just take over a game, and they didn't have anybody on that team that did that.
I need to see Kentucky play a few more games because honestly, the games I've seen them play, I mean, they gave one up to Richmond. They lose this one to Kansas. And yeah, they won one game, but this is early in the season. And the problem I have right now with Kentucky is if you're dropping games to Richmond, if you're obviously it was a good game with Kansas, but usually, I mean, like you said, you have scores that are above 12 points or more. If we see this now and there's not going to be an adjustment made, I don't know if Kentucky is going to be that team we usually see. They're already ranked at 20. I think that Richmond game was a big telltale for me. It was like, it's not a knock against Richmond. They got a great team, but it's Richmond, and you don't expect Kentucky to drop that kind of game. You expect them to maybe drop this kind of game. I can understand them losing to Kansas, but to Richmond, they just looked shaky.
And the Richmond game was a 12-point loss. Like that wasn't even.
It wasn't. Yeah, it wasn't like a game winner. It was a blatant beatdown, and so.
Especially in the second half of that game too. So
yeah, and it was at home. So I mean, I need to see Kentucky play maybe 2 more weeks, but not impressed with Kentucky right now. That's all I got to say.
Yeah, which is kind of sad for me because I have them in my Final Four. So anyways, we'll see. But let's move on to the biggest story of this podcast.
Yeah.
Michigan State and Duke. I want to take a few seconds to talk about this game first. I watched this game. Duke started out really well in the first half, but then Michigan State just kind of turned it on. I mean, they turned it on at the end of the first half and at the beginning of the second half. I think they went on something like a 12-0 run or something at one point in the game. But Tom Izzo's first win in Cameron Indoor after losing the previous 3. But anyways, that's my thoughts. Michigan State looked good. Duke just they couldn't hit any threes.
No,
and that's what hurt him.
Yeah, here's what Duke lives by. They live by a couple things. They live by the three-pointer. I've hated that for forever because if you can't hit a three as a Duke basketball team, you're not going to win the game. So the three-point percentage for the team from three was 21.7%. Now that's not good. But then the overall field goal percentage in general was 32.3%. We're still looking at lower numbers for Duke team. Michigan State, they out rebounded Duke in defensive rebounds alone, 34-29, 12-11 offensive. Um, their starters, we had two starters for Duke, 21 and 11 points. The rest of them scored less than 10, and two of those being 6 and one of those being 4. And you had three guys from Michigan State here score 14, 11, 20. I'm shocked that their forward, Keither, scored 0 points, and they still won. But it just is a classic. It's a classic case of Duke not being able to hit a three. And that's what they live by. Also, Michigan State has always been a thorn in Duke's side. You put Michigan State and Duke in any arena, and it's already going to be a bloodbath. And so, you know what? I'm going to be cordial and honest here. Congrats to Michigan State. Did I like seeing it? No. Does Duke have a young team? Yes. I know we've got Wendell Moore back, but the rest of the guys are new, and some guys are returning. But this is going to be a Duke team that I think is going to need to challenge themselves. You don't have a Zion Williamson anymore. You don't have an R.J. Barrett. So this is, and you don't have a Tyus Jones or anybody like that. And so you're going to be challenged here a little bit. I think they can rise to the occasion, but it's going to be like North Carolina. This is going to be a young, raw team that's going to need to get a couple games under their belt.
I do want to say something, though. So Michigan State, though, has some studs on their team. I mean, they got Joshua Langford, who only had 3 points in this game, but they have a transfer from Marquette, Hauser, whatever, Joey Hauser, and he's got a brother who also transferred from Marquette. And they're both tearing it up. So I think Michigan State I feel like they were a little more gelled together, and they're obviously the more experienced team. I mean, we'll see what happens later down the road when Duke gets some more experience. But also, I think not having any fans at Cameron Indoor definitely played a factor into this.
Absolutely.
Because, literally, that is the most electric college basketball atmosphere in the country. And not having the fans there was, I think, definitely an influencer. But I'm not going to use that as an excuse for Duke.
No, me neither. So, I mean, you think about college football being without fans and that being different. Definitely college basketball. It's a smaller arena. You got and obviously people are going crazy all the time. I will say to your point that they do have some studs on that team. I know firsthand actually that Josh Langford is a stud because I played against him when I played travel ball. So that dude will throw down very quickly on you if you don't get out of his way. He's a great guy. So I have to say congratulations. Well, I didn't get jammed on, but I witnessed several of my teammates and or other teams get it. So Josh, gotta say, buddy, congratulations on a good win. I will say I'm upset with your team though. So,
yeah. So let's talk about a few other games. There was a notable one on Sunday, Houston and Texas Tech. Houston ended up winning this game, and if I'm not mistaken, this was at home for Texas Tech. Oh no, it was a neutral site. It was a neutral site. But still, I mean, Houston. Who knew? Who knew about Houston, man? I was so high on Texas Tech. I mean, I've got them winning the Big 12 championship.
Yeah.
The tournament. But who knew about Houston? They forced Texas Tech to 19 points in the first half.
I know.
And
I don't want to make any excuses here, but I also think that this new atmosphere of not having fans and all this, I think that plays somewhat of a factor because think about it. I mean, like you said with Cameron, but even with some of these teams, they're all feeding off of the energy of the room. And when you're just playing, 5-on-5, it's like a scrimmage game in the practice gym. Again, no excuses. I think Texas Tech definitely underplayed here, and I still think they're a good team. I think we're going to see them do some great things this season. But But
Yeah, and
Houston,
like
I mean, Houston showing up.
their star player, like I was saying last time we had this podcast, Mac McClung, McClung, whatever.
McClung, I guess, yeah.
3 for 11 from shooting. I mean, the only reason he had 16 points because he had 10 free throws.
Yeah.
So you got your star players got to play better than 3 from 11 for shooting if you're gonna win. If you're gonna win these type of matchups.
Right.
So let's see. Oh, also got to mention this: Michigan, your favorite team, squeaking it out in overtime against Oakland. I'm sorry, who? Oakland? They
0-4 Oakland, by the way.
0-4. And what conference? They're in the Horizon League.
The Horizon League.
Yes, they're in the Horizon League.
Yeah.
Wow, I can't even believe that this is even close.
I just think Michigan overall as a school needs to take a step back and evaluate their values in their coaching and their sports programs. That's all I need to say.
I mean, they are undefeated in basketball though right now. So, but
Hardly,
I will
hardly.
say hardly, barely, yeah.
I would count that as a loss, just having to go to overtime versus Oakland. Where did they play? The Horizon League. Like, I mean, come on now, people. Come
on. Let's see. Oh my gosh, another big story in college basketball was also last Saturday. Duke versus Chopin State. This was a game. They won by 10, but I will say Duke did not look good in this game either. It was like a 6-point game with like 2 minutes to go, and I was like, wow, is Duke going to get upset? But
yeah.
So again, like we've said, Duke just needs to kind of simmer down a little bit. They got a young team, get some experience. But what I really wanted to mention was Villanova and Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech upsetting Villanova in overtime, outscoring them by 9 points in overtime. Golly, it was 17-9 in overtime. Give me your thoughts on that.
Well, here's the thing. Villanova is one of those teams that you're either going to be really good or you're just going to be good. I don't think they've ever had a terrible season, especially with their coach now. I have a great coach, great program there. But you got some teams in basketball that, just like in the past, in the football podcast earlier, I mentioned Auburn, or maybe it wasn't Auburn. It was I said one of the teams was a nuisance team. Northwestern, Michigan State, Northwestern, both of them. Virginia Tech is one of those teams in college basketball that'll come in there and you expect to win, right? You expect to move on, and maybe it'd be a close one. I know this firsthand because they've upset Duke several times when they've had no business doing it, and it's just one of those nuisances. And then next week they'll lose to Oakland, or they'll lose to
next week they play VMI tonight, and they'll lose to VMI.
And I'm sure it'll be a close game, but potentially lose. But here's the deal: it's early. It's very early. You're going to see Villanova stay in the top 10. Or get back in the top 10. You're going to see the Duke team and the North Carolina team get there. I just think there's an adjustment that has to be made with, number one, the atmosphere. Number two, as we talked about the first week, a lot of recruiting, a lot of new guys coming in, a lot of young teams. And think about it: a lot of these freshmen are coming in, and they're playing basketball for the first time on the college level in the atmosphere and situation we're in. So, and I'll go back to that Coppin State and Duke game too. I mean, a classic case of a freshman raw talent just having to be played out. And I know Mike and I know Roy and I know all these other coaches will get in the gyms and say, okay, now you've seen what it's about. Let's practice and let's work on the technique. So, but yeah, big upset in Villanova for sure.
Yeah, and then another one we mentioned earlier, San Francisco over Virginia.
I just want to dog Virginia real quick. Can I just dog Virginia? Because I hate Virginia. Ha, ha, ha. That's all I got to say. You lost to San Fran. Forgot they were a school.
Yeah, and Virginia had a chance to win this on the last second three. It was off. But still, this shouldn't have even been close.
No. I mean, it's San Francisco. Like, It's just let that sink
The
in a
San
minute. It's
Francisco Dons.
but
They're
you
the
know what?
Dons.
At the same time, Virginia has a record of losing to stupid teams like San Francisco and to who they lose to
UMBC.
UMBC, the dog, whatever kind of dog they were. So you know, unfortunately, this will not be the end of Virginia because I have to give them credit. They have a fantastic head coach. I love their head coach, and so they'll be back. They'll be. We actually you and me watched 2 years ago. We went and watched Virginia
Against
play Oklahoma the year
Oklahoma.
they won the national championship. Might I add?
Yeah, yeah. And that was also the game where UCF should have beat Duke.
We're not going to go there. We're not going to go there. All right. So, anyways, yes, big upset there. I don't think there were. I mean, I'll tell you what. Now, I want to go back down here real quick. On I guess this is Friday, the 27th, the same week, same day that Virginia got
Yeah.
upset. Illinois only beat Ohio by 2 points. So now I'm thinking, is Illinois really that good?
Yeah.
So
They
we'll see.
they've
But
got a bunch of guards and then they've got a really big center. I don't know his name, but they kind of play 4 out 1 in kind of an offense.
yeah. I mean,
So
that game was a very, very close game. And you're looking at first half stat, 35-34, and then second half total
yeah,
was 42-41. So, I mean, uh, I don't know, man. I really didn't understand why Illinois was ranked that high to begin with. And then after they beat Ohio by 2 points, they moved up to number 5. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. We need to see Illinois play some more too, but
yeah. No, I
we'll see.
agree. So what are some? Let's talk about a few games that are coming up. Of course, Saturday we've got Gonzaga and Baylor. Quick pick on that. Who you got?
Whew, that's a game right there. You know, I'm gonna go with Baylor for the simple reason that Baylor just outright impressed me, man. I mean, Baylor outright impressed me, and not that Gonzaga didn't. I've apologized to Gonzaga, and we've gotten over our differences, but um, Baylor Baylor is playing some ball, and I think this will be like I agree with you. This will be one of the biggest games of the season, and so I
Yeah,
would love to see. I would love to see a really good close game. I think it's going to come down to the wire, but I think Baylor edges it out here.
yeah. Here's my 2 cents on this game. Defense wins championships, but offense wins games. I think Gonzaga wins this game, and I think Baylor's defense, although it's amazing, I've seen it. I think they get a few key stops, but I think Gonzaga, um, they've proven they've played some good opponents. Like they have not played scrubs. I mean, who have they played? Kansas, West Virginia. Who's their third win? Let's see, Auburn. Which okay, whatever. But who has Baylor played? Illinois, the Fighting Illini, and um, let's see, pull this up. Louisiana, Washington. You know what I mean? Like Illinois is their best team, and we've already said that we don't know how good Illinois is. So
Yeah.
that's why I'm going Gonzaga. That's the big game on Saturday. Villanova and Texas on Sunday. Interesting. I don't know, man. This could get this. What's your pick on this one?
You know, like we said, Texas playing some good ball, having that close win over North Carolina. Villanova is going to want to look to bounce back. I think this comes down to the wire. I think it could potentially be another game winner here. I'm going to say and give the benefit of the doubt that Texas is wanting to prove themselves more than just a nail biter winning team. Give
Mm-hmm.
me Texas in a very close one.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I'm gonna have to disagree with you there. I think Nova's actually got more to prove because they lost. I agree with you that Texas does want to prove the doubters wrong that the UNC game wasn't a fluke, but I don't know, man. Man, you're big on the Big 12 right now.
Yeah, I don't know why
Big
I
on the
am
Big 12,
either.
and of course, I think and we talked about this in the first podcast, man. ACC definitely best conference in basketball,
For sure.
but the Big East could make the argument as a close second behind the Big 12 and the Big 10, or in front of, rather.
Yeah, I'm looking at
So
some other. I'm looking at another big game here real quick, and honestly, I don't know how big this is. Um, you know, I was gonna say to look at that Marquette Wisconsin matchup, but I'm going back and looking. They've played Marquette's played UAPB, which who knows what that stands for, and then I think Eastern Illinois. So and then they lost to Oklahoma State by 8.
yeah,
So I'm not thinking that's going to be an upset there, but that might be another game. Just keep your eye on, just in case Marquette decides to show up. It's at home.
yeah.
Um,
But there's a few games next Tuesday. Let's get into these quick. Just get a couple quick picks here. We got Iowa and North Carolina, Creighton and Kansas, and then Duke and Illinois, and Ohio State, Notre Dame. That's not really that big of a game. But
well, let's just go through it. Let's just go through it.
yeah,
here.
what do you think? Iowa, UNC. What's your pick there?
I'm saying UNC. I'm saying UNC bounces back. Iowa's played 2 good games, but UNC, I'm telling you, give Roy Williams like a couple of days to get this team back online, and you're going to see North Carolina show up and play. As far as Iowa goes, it's at home, but I
They haven't
think,
played anybody. Iowa hasn't played anybody.
yeah,
So
I think
I think North Carolina, just because they played better competition so far.
Yeah, I think you see a good game here with North Carolina on top. We got a Creighton and Kansas team, a game here as well. Big East, Big 12 battle.
I like Kansas in this one, actually.
Yeah, I'm not a big Creighton guy. You had Doug McDermott come through, and he was good. Creighton's not a bad team, but it's at Kansas. Kansas, yeah, they lost one game early, but I don't see Kansas losing this game. It might be a close one, and I hope it is because I'd love to see some good basketball. But I see Kansas winning that one as well.
Yeah,
Um,
I agree. I think this could be a good game, though. Like, I'm not going to count Creighton out, but I just think Kansas is too good. Marcus Garrett, another guy from Dallas, rival high school. He's coming out to play.
right, and then I think you've got 2 other big, huge games. I mean,
Duke and Illinois.
well, we'll get to that one in a minute as I want to talk. But Bobby, these are 2 huge games that could impact the rest of the season. We've got Baylor and Nichols, and then Tarleton and Gonzaga. I mean, Tarleton, who are you? No, I'm kidding. Those would be both blowout games there. Duke and Illinois, yeah. Cameron and Dort here, same deal with North Carolina. I think you give Duke some time to regroup. They've lost the game, and usually when Mike loses a game, he doesn't lose twice in a row. And so, and I think obviously we've got a couple of games here before this one hits the screens. But I think the good thing about the next couple of games for Duke is that they're against a little lesser opponents, and so we're going to get
before
to
this one.
we're going to get to work on technique. We're going to get to work on teamwork. We're going to get to run that offense, and I think, I'm going to be selfish here and say I hope Illinois doesn't lose another game. I hope they continue to win so they stay, at least highly ranked. That way, when Duke plays them and hopefully they win, it looks good on the record. So I think Duke, it might be a close game, who knows? But I think Duke will, by that point, will have a little bit more maturity and will be able to pull out a win.
Yeah, I think I'm going to agree with you there. I'm not sold on Illinois yet.
I'm not either, and I don't think.
If they win this game, though, like, I'll give them credit. I'll give them credit if they win.
Yeah, I will too.
I'm just not really sold on the Fighting Illini. That's so fun to say.
The Illini. Who are you playing? Who are you playing this weekend? We're playing the Illini. Who are you playing? Tarleton.
Tarleton. Yeah. Well,
you've got you've got Syracuse and Rutgers. Syracuse is one of those up and down teams too. So
yeah, there's some really good games in college basketball, which is exciting this early in the season. And it's cool to actually, let's just take a minute to be thankful that we actually have a college basketball season
That's right.
and sports in general. So I guess our final question here. We teased it out last time. You said you had Gonzaga, UNC, Duke, and Texas Tech in your Final Four. 2 questions. Has any of those 4 teams changed? And if so, who? And if not, who wins the championship out of those 4 teams?
Yeah, I think it's changed a little bit. I'm going to keep Gonzaga in there right now. I'm going to replace Texas Tech with Baylor. I think we see Baylor run the table. I like the style of offense they're playing right now. I want to go back and look at something in a minute before I say some stuff. I think Gonzaga and Baylor are definitely 2 in there. If Wisconsin keeps playing the way they could, I think they don't go the complete distance. I think they go a good ways. I'm going to throw you a curveball, and you're probably not expecting this. I'm going to put Houston in my top 4.
I was actually thinking about that. Actually, not gonna lie.
I'm going to say it just to say it. I want to be that guy. So,
Yeah.
Gonzaga, Baylor, Houston as the Cinderella team, and then I don't want to be one of those podcaster guys. It's like, I'm going to push my team the distance, unless it's Alabama football, then I can do that.
And you have.
So
it's
I'm going
okay.
to take both. I'm going to take both Duke and North Carolina out of my top 4 for now, and I'm going to say Gonzaga, Baylor, Houston, and probably either Michigan State or
Yeah.
Kansas. So,
Yeah.
those
so
just
who out of those 4 wins?
Right now, it'll all depend on this weekend, but right now I want to say Baylor wins it.
Because of the defense. Defense wins championship.
I think the defense is just good. I mean, here's the deal. Offense wins games, but if your defense can stop the opposing offense, that's half the battle won. You just got to be able to put the ball in a hoop. So, so I think right now I see Baylor win it. They're just playing some good basketball, and it hurts my heart not to have Duke in there, but Duke's got to show me something different. So,
all right.
we'll see.
Just so the viewers know, you got Gonzaga, then Baylor, Michigan State, and what was the 4th team again?
Houston. Did you put Houston in there?
Oh yes, Houston. The Cougars.
The Cougars.
All right. So my Final Four was Gonzaga, Kansas, Kentucky, Dayton. I'm still rolling with Dayton. They haven't played any games. Okay.
They haven't played anybody.
But they haven't played any games, so I'm not going to take them out just because they haven't played any games. They play Richmond, so it'll be interesting to see how that game goes against Richmond in the A10.
We'll see.
So I'm going to keep Dayton. I'm going to keep Kansas. I'm going to keep Gonzaga. I think I'm going to get rid of Kentucky. I'm going to put Michigan State in there.
Yeah, you got to get rid of Kentucky. Lord have mercy.
Who wins out of these 4? You know what? I think Gonzaga wins.
Of course you would pick Gonzaga.
They've proven it.
We'll find out if they prove it this weekend. That's my thing. We'll find out this weekend.
Our 2 champions go head to head on Saturday. Isn't that fun?
I cannot wait till next week's episode. That way I can say, I told you.
Same here. You want to put a little something on the line for this game Saturday?
Why are you going to ask me that like this?
Live on the air.
I feel like the viewers would be like, you're a sissy if you don't. So sure, why not?
Sure, why not? Okay. What do you want to do?
You put me on the spot here. I think the punishment for this week's college football pick'ems is a little blender action of some interesting food choices. I think that's what we decided on. So we can't go that route.
Nothing too big.
Nothing too big at all.
It's one game.
What should we do?
we'll get back to you, folks.
We'll get back to you. Let's think about this. I've got a couple ideas rolling, but I'm not sure if they're legit or not. We'll update you on the Instagram. That's for sure.
Yes, yes. Well, it's been really fun talking with you guys for a little bit on college basketball. I know that I know these are a little bit shorter podcasts for basketball, but there's just so much to cover.
There's so much, and we
trying
can't
to
cover it all.
steamroll, and yeah. So we appreciate you guys' patience as we kind of figure this stuff out. And we'll be back next week to kind of recap some of the bigger games this week. I think this is a good week in college basketball.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we'll also be back with our football podcast as well. Yeah, anything else, Andrew?
No, yeah, we just want to thank y'all for hanging with us here. I know it's going to be a little bit different doing this over Zoom and everything, but again, we're excited again to announce that we've moved to YouTube, and so you can find us on YouTube with the call with Bobby and Andrew. That's where you can find us on YouTube, and then we're still going to be posting on Spotify, and we're going to be launching this podcast on Apple Podcast and iHeartRadio and all those other platforms where you can find podcasts here soon. So we just want to thank you guys for following us and tagging along. And so if you don't follow us on Instagram yet or on any social media, go follow us there. Go subscribe to our YouTube channel. The link for the Spotify audio version of this podcast is in the link to our Instagram. And share with your friends. We'd love to see our fan base grow as we continue to
our fan base.
talk the sports, all the sports with you guys. So, but that's all I've got. We'll get back to you guys on what the little punishment on the line for Gonzaga Baylor is this weekend. But that's all I've got. So signing off of the call is Andrew Waite, and as always, go Blue Devils, roll Tide, and Bobby.
Oh my gosh. As your resident Clemson fan, go Tigers.
Everybody, y'all have a good weekend.
See ya.